Welcome to the Perth Entrepreneur Podcast with me, Neil Gibb, where each week we use the stories and journeys of other successful business owners to motivate, inspire, and empower you to become the next breed of successful entrepreneurs.
Nitin, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Neil. Thanks for having me, mate.
Not a problem. Nitin is also the president of the BNI Crown and also the director of vocational services of the Rotary Club of Perth. So he's a busy man. That's right, isn't it?
Yes.
So look, I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy day just to go through some of the things that we want to go through today. We'd like to get a bit of a background on who you are and why you've ended up in the position that you're in now. But we'd also like to get some information around some of the COVID packages that are available.
Look, Neil, first of all, thanks for having me again, mate. Obviously, I'm a tax accountant at core. A lot of other involvement with the Rotary are voluntary assignments, and I really enjoy helping small businesses with the best tax outcomes very proactively. And look, and as a part of that philosophy, I have been educating a lot of small businesses onto these COVID-19 stimulus packages, help them declutter it, help them understand it from their perspective, from a layman's perspective, that what these packages are they eligible or not, and how they can make the best use of them. Obviously, it's a difficult time for everyone. And I think the more the clarity the small businesses get and better advantage they can take of these stimulus payments, the better will be the chances to come out well on the other side, Mike. You know, it's really important.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And that's one of the main reasons I wanted to get you on the podcast.
Yeah.
And, discuss these things because there'll be questions that I'll be asking you that are relevant to me. Yeah. But there'll also be questions that other people are trying to sort of defog all the information that's out there, because there's a lot of stuff that's come out, and it's come out Absolutely. in different days, different times, and
different days, different times, and it is it's sort of too much information in a very short span of time, sort of an information overload. So it's very important, to decipher it for people in a layman's language. Otherwise, it can all be very confusing.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we start this as well, I also want to point out that Nitin is my accountant, and the reason that we use Nitin, he's got a huge background in real estate, and he's also very, very knowledgeable just in general. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation, Nitin.
Really thanks, Nick.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. How have you become the person that you've become? So currently you own one of the franchises of Tax Store, which is the one in Osborne Park.
Yeah.
How did you end up in that position?
I guess I always wanted to be in public practice. That's where I started my career with one of the big fours when I was in India and completed my chartered accountancy. And before, I was the CFO and assistant GM at Plunkett Homes JWH Group, one of the biggest property groups. Now, about 4.5 years back, I decided, it's about time that I branch out on my own and really go out there, help small businesses. You see, what is happening, Neil, is that the technology is having a disruptive transformation everywhere. It is more apparent in things like Ubers and Airbnbs, but it's happening in a lot of other industries as well. Look, I mean, technology is disrupting how we are having these meetings. We are having this meeting in this podcast over Zoom. I mean, who would have thought it possible 5 years back? So because of that, and because of zeros of the world, because of the cloud technology, the role of the accountants is also changing. It is going more towards advisory from compliance. It is shifting from compliance, because compliance can still be driven by softwares and lower skilled people. Accountant's role is more about advisory, about being the go-to person to help troubleshoot clients' problems, help educate the clients proactively on legislation, help them save tax, and give them other advice. And this sort of suited me a lot more naturally. So there was an area of opportunity, and this is why I made that shift 4.5 years back, and I'm enjoying every moment of it, Mike.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
You specialize, or well, your background is in real estate, so is that a sort of speciality niche that you are the kind of expert in, or do you
look? Look. I deal in a lot of other things, but properties, property subdivisions, real estate is a special area of interest because I know that industry very well through my background in the building industry.
Yep.
And that sort of understanding translates in terms of dealing with the clients, in terms of understanding quickly what the clients are actually trying to do, and coming now from the tax and structuring background, it invariably helps me provide better advice and better tax outcomes to them, because the thing really is that you need to understand the business of the client. If you don't understand that business, then the numbers and the figures and things don't talk to you as well. And since I understand that business, it really helps me get better outcome and tax outcome for the clients.
Yeah, excellent, mate. And if there's any small businesses out there that want to reach out to Nitin and come along to the BNI Crown, they can contact you for that. Yeah,
absolutely, right. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good networking opportunity.
Yeah, correct.
So let's touch on some of these COVID packages then, because like you say, a lot of small businesses have either been affected, are going to be affected, or a lot of them, some of them have just shut down completely, just batten down the hatches and wait until all this flows over.
Yeah.
So in the way of, let's touch on property investment first. I know there's not a lot of information out there for property investors. So for tenants still have to pay the rent. There's no sort of, there's a lot of mixed confusion out there around what they should and shouldn't be doing. A lot of our tenants think they just have to stop paying rent. That's not the case, is it?
No, look, the tenants still have to pay rent. There is no sort of a cash flow support available for them. Mm-hmm. But what has been said is that the landlords cannot force the tenants out of their house because of non-payment of rent. And landlords will have to be mandatorily enter into the tenants onto an arbitration or a mediation process to come to an understanding, either waive off some bit of a rent or reduce the rent, or sort of get into a payment arrangement during this time. And each state is supposed to come up with their own legislation around this. So while there is no money available from either the federal or the state government, not at this stage at least, but there are mechanisms in place to get the landlord and the tenant talking, to defer the payments, maybe reduce the rentals, or come to other amicable arrangements to help the tenants.
Right. So this is just a negotiation between the owner and the landlord to come up with a package that.
Correct, but this is a negotiation between them, where the rules and the state legislations are going to come into play hopefully soon, which will put a framework, a legal framework around those negotiations.
So right now the negotiation will have a point that it stops at because there's no legislation to support it.
There is no legislation to support it, but I think the intention has been made very clear. And look, I know some bit of my clients. Their landlords have reduced their rents or deferred their payments, and so that is happening. I mean, it is a difficult time, Neil, for everyone, right? And we all got to be looking after each other a bit. I mean, I've helped a lot of people in terms of giving this advice on the stimulus payments, answering a lot of queries. Right? I've not charged anyone for that.
Yeah. Good stuff. And what about landlords then? Because there was some news came out that landlords could apply to the banks for assistance with their mortgage payments.
Landlords could apply, but again, those are a little bit more details will be coming onto those things. A lot of operational details are not there. So at the moment, the way this thing stand is either landlord is going to reduce the payment, or they're going to give defer the payments for the tenants. So at the moment, the way it stands is that landlord is sort of carrying the can in terms of the cash flow burden. Now they can go off to the banks. What sort of help is there? That's an area still is evolving, and we'll be watching it very carefully as we go.
Is that the same with commercial landlords too?
Correct.
Okay. Excellent, mate. Okay, so job seekers, for people that have either lost their job or had their hours cut, what's the background on that, or is there legislation in place for that yet?
Yes, so all those legislations are in place. A lot of details are available now. Now, let me just distinguish the two type of payment. One is for the employers, and one is for the employees. Now, the job seeker is more for the employees. So if you have lost your job, and so you can fall back on to the welfare net. A lot of sole traders can also fall back onto the welfare net, and when they are looking for a job, they've lost their current job. So that is what the job seeker is there. So it is not for businesses, it is for the employees who have lost their jobs.
Right.
Now for the employers, there are mainly two types of help available. One is what is popularly being called is the cash flow boost scheme, and the second one is called the JobKeeper scheme. So both are sort of designed in order to keep people in jobs and help businesses keep people in job, because the idea really is that this COVID situation is going to be temporary, and the more businesses can keep their staff, the faster it will be for them to hit the road running once we come out the other end of this problem. Now, the way the cash flow boost scheme operates is it is administered to the normal batch system. So if you have employees on your payroll and you are deducting PAYG on those employee wages, then once you lodge your batch, you could be getting a cash flow, a boost from the federal government anywhere between $20,000 to $100,000 based on the PAYG you have deducted. Now, that's a fair bit of a help need, especially when it is not going to be taxable and you don't have to give it back.
Right. And that's $20,000 minimum.
Minimum. So let's take an example. Let's say a small business have some employees, and these employees are paid. Maybe they are part-time employees. They are paid less than $18,000 a year, so there is no PAYG to be deducted, and they are not withholding anything for that. So even this type of an employer will get about minimum $20,000 back.
Wow, it's incredible.
So that's a fair bit of a help and all that. Obviously, it's not 20,000 is not going to come in one go. It will come if you are on a monthly basis. It will come to you monthly between April and October, and if you are on to a quarterly basis, then it will come to you again between April and October.
Right.
Now the second payment there is a JobKeeper payment, which is designed to help businesses keep their staff in jobs. Now, what that does is you have to determine the eligibility for that, both for the employer and the employee, and both should sort of qualify. Now, for the employer, if you have, and I'm only talking of smaller businesses here, and smaller businesses means that you have a turnover of less than $1 billion, right? For this purpose. So that really covers a whole lot, honestly,
Yeah.
So that's probably just about more than everyone that you and me would be dealing with. So now, if the turnover of these businesses have reduced by 30% or more, then they will be eligible for the JobKeeper payment.
Yeah.
And what the JobKeeper payment does is they get from the government $1,500 per employee per fortnight.
Right.
I will repeat, $1,500 per employee per fortnight. They get it from the government. So let's say if you have, let's talk of a small business that have 4 employees, so you could be getting literally $12,000 a month from the federal government, to fund the wages of that, And now the beauty of the scheme is, and the details that have been released, and these are very important, they've just been released, is how are you going to be determining that your turnover is 30% down? You obviously will be comparing it with the previous period. So now, and there is a lot of flexibility in there. So if a small business determines that their turnover, either in March or in April or May, June, July, August, or September, any of these 7 months was less than 30% compared to the previous months, then you qualify. So it doesn't need to be comparison of March 20 with March 2019. Even if you have determined that your turnover in May 2020 is going to be less than 30% compared to May 2019, you will still qualify.
Right. So you can forecast this forward.
Correct. And the reason of that is, and reason that flexibility is given is a lot of businesses might still be all right in March or April because they have back orders, but it's all going to dry up for them going forward. So even if you determine, let's say in your business, that look, based on the numbers I've done, and you obviously have to have reasons to support those numbers, that your turnover in let's say August 2020 is going to be less than by more than 30% compared to August 2019, you still qualify. So you've got to make the test only once. You don't have to make it each month.
Right.
And so any of these 7 months, you can use it as a period of comparison, or you can use the quarter, April to June quarter, or June to September quarter. You can compare it with 2019 and use that quarter also for the purpose of this turnover test.
Right.
So there is a lot of flexibility in there. So if you, let's say, the applications for that will be available on 20th of April. The first one, you will have to lodge the application by 26th of April. So let's say if now you decide that in July 2020, my turnover as Neil Gibbs is going to be less than 30% compared to July 2019, bingo. Have your workings ready, have your reasons ready. As long as you've done your reasonable thing, then you qualify. You don't have to keep on making that test every month. But what you need to do is that this scheme, you will have to obviously register yourself. You have to see whether your employees qualify or not, because employees have to be Australian citizens or Australian permanent residents. New Zealand 444 visas are covered as well. And even casuals are covered as long as they have been continuously employed by you for a 1 year period, but application again has to be lodged every fortnight for the claim. So claim has to be lodged every fortnight.
Right. And
so while you register for the scheme on 26th by 26th of April, but you have to lodge your claim every fortnight saying these are the employees, these are the details, and the next month the government is going to pay you.
Right. And how often do they check your revenue as a business? Is it you just lodge that one statement to say that your revenue has dropped by 30%?
You basically you make a determination whether you qualify with this turnover test once, but you lodge your claim for sort of this $1,500 every fortnight, and together with that you have to give them a little bit of a snapshot of what is the turnover you are expecting next month.
Right.
So that there is still going to be a little bit of an audit trail. There's still little going to be businesses will have to keep on doing the due diligence. And look, you can opt out of the scheme anytime.
Right. And do we need?
So if you opt out of let's say your business for some reasons you win big orders and you go gangbusters. Obviously, you can get out of the scheme anytime. And if you don't get into the scheme now in April, because you don't think you meet the turnover test yet, but you find out that 2 months down the track, you meet the turnover test, you can get into the scheme anytime in between this period.
Yeah.
The only thing is that can't happen is you won't be given the backdated claims.
Okay.
So So if the scheme is operational for 6 months and you join it onto the 4 month, then you get it the claims prospectively. You won't get retrospectively for 2 months.
Okay. So I suppose the only question I've got around that is, say for instance, a business at the start of 2019 set some goals to triple the size of the business, and then they achieved them goals in 2019, started 2020, started off really well, and then all of a sudden COVID kicked in, and you try and compare them first 2 months of the year compared to the last 2 months of the year, and obviously you've seen a 300% increase in your revenue.
Yeah, unfortunately there's not much you can do on those things, but the commissioner has a discretion to specify the circumstances, or for some industries or for some situations, and alternate ways of test. But the way it is that you might be doing, and obviously I understand there is a bit of a problem for businesses who are coming off a low base, because they started only 2 years back, and they were coming off a low base and started doing well. You can't help it, it has to be compared with that previous period, unfortunately. But the commissioner has discretion that to come up or approve an alternate ways of test if he thinks that the current turnover test probably will not do justice. But I don't think that sort of a discretion is going to be applied liberally. No discretion is applied liberally. So it will have to be really, really good circumstances and a genuine case. But we probably are waiting for some new maybe rules to be announced, hopefully, for startup businesses, on how some bit of those things would be judged.
Cool.
But what I can say here is important to mention that for the JobKeeper schemes, sole traders and self-employed people are also eligible.
For JobKeepers?
Correct. So if you are, let's say, a trade and you are a sole trader and you work only for yourself, you do not have any employees, you only work for yourself, and because of COVID, your turnover has declined by more than 30%, you are still eligible to claim $1,500 a fortnight for yourself. Even though, considering that you are employed in the business, even though you've not been paying yourself wages.
Is there a time period that you needed to be a sole trader for? Is it 6 months, 12 months, or can you have just started up in 2020?
No, the thing is, you have to be obviously being established sole trader, being in the business for before 1st of March 2020.
Oh, good.
Now, correct. But that is fine for a little bit more established sole traders. But look what happens if you set up a shop as a sole trader or a business, let's say in October 2019. Then you won't have the previous year to compare with. This is where we expect sort of new rules to hopefully be announced, at how those people could be judged.
Yeah. Because obviously, like you said, obviously the real estate industry, as a property manager, they only get paid their commission when they receive rent. So if tenants start to lose their jobs and can't afford to pay rent, then that affects the property manager's turnover, because they don't claim their commission for receiving that rent.
So they would be covered. So what and if you as a real estate agent, or and if your commissions or the rental managements, and you have to sort of calculate it like any other business. If you are expecting a 30% plus downturn on that, then you will be eligible.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So it is nothing to do. All the businesses are covered as long as you can demonstrate a 30% reduction in this turnover. Even sole traders are covered. The only thing is, you have to be a running business before 1st of March. The employees have to be on your roll by 1st of March, and you've got to be able to meet the turnover test.
So the $1,500 per employee per fortnight, how does that look on the balance sheet or the profit and loss of the business?
Look, it looks good because it is a cash flow thing. It is not taxable. It is not, you don't have to pay GST on that. It is, the simple way of putting it is that it's been given to you as a cash flow gift.
Right. So it's not revenue.
No, even if you put it on the revenue, you don't pay tax on that. It's sort of a help given by the government,
right,
to help sort of your working capital.
Yeah.
But it is very, very targeted. You can only use it for your employees' salaries.
Mhm.
And you have to pay those salaries in advance before you claim this.
Right.
And so if you are paying, for example, if you're paying a staff $2,000 a fortnight, then effectively staff is costing you effectively $500,
Yeah.
because $1,500 is going to be reimbursed to you. But if you're paying your staff $1,000 a fortnight, then you have to pay them $500 excess, which means that the whole of this subsidy, you have to pass it on to your staff. You can't keep it.
And what about withholding tax from that as well? Do we withhold tax as an employer?
You will have to withhold tax.
Yeah.
From that, from the difference. If you are paying them $2,000, you're withholding tax anyway.
Yeah.
The issue only comes is if you're paying your staff $1,000 fortnight, for argument's sake, and now you have to pay them $1,500 a fortnight.
Mm-hmm.
So from this $1,500, obviously the staff is getting $500 extra. So you have to withhold tax from that.
Yeah.
But it is to your discretion as an employer whether you want to pay a superannuation guarantee on that or not. If you don't want, that's fine. If you want, you can.
Right. So for the 6-month period that the JobKeepers is in position, then the employer might not get any superannuation contributions.
No, you have to pay your superannuation contribution on the salaries that you are anyway paying,
right,
to your employees. But if you have to bump up the salary because of the superannuation guarantee, because they were on a lower threshold than 1,500. Because you see, the 1,500 the government is giving you, you have to pass it on to your employee. You can't profit from it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're paying an employee at a wage that was less than $1,500 a fortnight, then you have to increase their wage to $1,500 a fortnight.
Right, I'm with you.
You understand?
Yeah.
But on that extra increase, you will have to withhold tax, but you are not supposed to pay superannuation guarantee on that. You can pay if you want to, and if you don't want to, then that's fine as well.
Yeah, right. Okay, excellent. Is there any other incentives out there that you can think of from the government?
There is a wage for 50% wage subsidy for apprentices, and that might be a good thing for trades. I know a lot of people who are applying for that, who have been hiring apprentices so that to retain those apprentices in job. So, but basically, look, it's a fair bit, mate. Between the cash flow boost and JobKeeper payments, that's a big help for a lot of businesses.
Oh yeah, huge, absolutely huge.
Huge.
Have you seen any businesses or any industries thrive through this thing that we're going through at the minute? Have you seen anyone increase revenue and grow the business?
Because of the cash flow boost of these stimuluses, or just
in general? Just in general.
Look, just in general, there are some businesses in some industries doing well. A lot of trades and electricians and those people, they are still busy because now that people are in houses, they want to get a bit of odd jobs done. Obviously, the groceries are doing well. The tech industries are doing well because everyone is sort of trying to gear themselves towards different ways of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
But the industries, obviously, that are suffering more or most are restaurants. Even the takeaways are not doing well, even though the restaurants are open for takeaway.
Mm-hmm.
People are just buying groceries and cooking at home. So takeaway sales are also a fair bit down. Obviously, the travel agents are suffering, the airlines businesses are suffering, travel and hospitality. Dentists, even dentists are suffering. The dentist business have also fallen through the roof, because unless really you have a dental emergency, people are not going to the dentists. Audiologists, a lot of those industries are suffering.
Yeah. So,
but there are other sectors of the business that are doing very well.
Yeah. So IT communications. Who would have thought Woolworths and Coles would have been such a secure job to be in, eh?
Absolutely, but they are hiring staff.
Yeah, it's great.
And the delivery, there are other things. They're doing well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I know you're also well connected through the sort of banking industries as well because of your background. Is there any information you've got around bank finance for property purchases or small scale property residential developments?
No, I don't think there is any change there compared to whatever it was before, except that the things have slowed down a bit because the banks are absolutely swamped. Right? Banks are, because of the stimulus, because of the $250,000 government guaranteed working capital payments, and the changes that is happening, the banks are absolutely swamped. The call load, literally, my feedback from banks is that where they would be getting 600 to 700 calls a day, they're getting 8,000 calls a day.
Wow.
And for a lot of banks, obviously, they're working from home, a lot of people, and where they would have the call centers in countries like India.
Yep.
So those countries are in lockdown, so the call centers have been affected. So the workload on the banks have really skyrocketed. So while there is no sort of a change in terms of their lending, but first it has slowed down, and a lot of people who would have otherwise qualified for the loans because they had a job, now probably don't have a job. And so because of that, their sort of financing and the repayment things have been affected.
Yeah, because I know the government said that they wanted the banks to increase their lending to people to keep their cash flow moving, keep the economy moving. But then if they don't fill the criteria for servicing the loan, then there's a chink there. There's a stop in the system.
Correct. And look, once we come out on the other side, I think those lending and those things have to be eased a bit, to make the lending a bit more accessible. But look, howsoever you might ease the lending, the fundamental criteria is that the borrower should be able to satisfy the repayment criteria. No more the banks are lending just based on the asset values, because we have seen that through the last global financial crisis and through loan securitization, that's also not the way to go.
Yeah, true. I think this is going to be like the last election that we had, and everyone sort of just sat back and waited until there was certainty in the market. Then everybody jumped back in, and it was just starting to hum along nicely, wasn't it? And then this kicked in.
Absolutely, Mike. Absolutely.
How long do you think this is going to be in effect for? How long do you think before we get back to normality?
Look, my gut feel is that in terms of the health side of it, we'll come out of it a lot sooner than what we are expecting. It might be before 6 months, though some bit of those social distancing measures will stay in place. But I think in terms of the recovery of the businesses, it's going to take longer than that. And more importantly, Neil, the way we do business will change. The way we'll communicate will change. We are already using Zoom. We are already using technology. We call it teleporting, or it's a new different order there.
Yeah.
And maybe virtual reality, a lot of those things. But that will also open up a lot of potential and a lot of new things. So there's going to be a lot of realignment, I think, coming our way in terms of industries and in terms of where we do business.
Yeah. Do you know what this has made me realize? I spent a lot of time driving backwards and forwards to have meetings with people, and now You can just in the office, bang, the meeting starts, and as soon as it finishes, you're back at work.
My productivity has gone up.
Yeah.
Because of this, and I've been literally forced to use this technology whereas I was a person who would be more comfortable meeting people face to face, and I am literally, look, even today, I mean, we had our BNI meeting, and since 5:30, I've been onto one Zoom meeting after other, till now, almost non-stop,
Yeah.
And I would have never imagined such type of a life, So productivity has increased. This is what I'm saying. It will be a totally different way of doing things. But one thing I must say, because both of us have interest in property and real estate, while there would be a whole different alignment in a whole lot of industries and all that. But you know what, Neil? One industry will always be the same and will do well long term. That is real estate.
Yeah.
That is why it is called real.
That's it. People always need somewhere to live.
Isn't it?
It's never going to go out of fashion.
Exactly.
Excellent, mate. Look, Nathan, I really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing your knowledge with us.
Not at all, mate. It was a pleasure.
If anybody needs to contact you or wants to discuss anything further,
might drop me a mail, give me a call, send me a little bit about your particular situation, especially if it is regarding the stimulus things. I'm more than happy to come back to you and advise you.
Brilliant.
On that. This is, like I said, I've not charged people so far by just evaluating their situation and giving them advice and pointing them in the right direction. And this is the time we ought to be looking after each other.
Sure is, Nitin. Well, look, I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your knowledge. And
Thanks, Mike.
Catch up soon.